Points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday edition. Dominic, how are you, my friend?
I'm awesome, Crudy. Happy Tuesday to you. Of course, Evan, working the board today. Good to see you, my friend, and our fair audience. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
E-Bone on the board, lightly screening the calls. And they're open for you, the phone lines, that is, 844-967-2789. But Dom, I'd like to do a little reminiscing today. I'd like to do something for old time's sake, something we used to do nearly every day on this show. You know, we've been doing this. We're soon to turn 11 years old, turning towards our 12th year of broadcast excellence.
Wow.
And when we started this little enterprise, Dom, you and I on a Saturday at high noon, first caller that we ever got on the big show was Brett Halsey, State Rep Brett Halsey. Yeah. Sort of had a checkered past, but at that time he was still the esteemed Brett Halsey, State Rep from Madison. When I say checkered, you know, he got a little goofy at the end there, but good guy, Brett Halsey, you know, ran against Murray Burke in a Democratic primary for governor. We took Brett off the reservation that day. You know, our first caller thought we owed it to him to puff pass his ass into oblivion, but you know, he didn't partake so much as get kidnapped
and get hotboxed.
But Dominic, something we used to do with some frequency, and once upon a time, Governor Scott Walker, the former Republican governor of the state of Wisconsin, and you know, as this little show was forming, he was being recalled. Do you recall?
I do recall.
And we were on differing sides of this issue. How did you vote in the recall, Dom?
I voted for Scott Walker in the recall.
Why would you do that? I've never forgiven him.
Man, well, I wasn't aware of the specific illegalities and coordinating with third-party groups at the time. You know, my position at that point was, well, yeah, the guy, you know, passed some legislation people don't like. Well, that's why we have elections.
And since that time, how has your opinion grown of Scott Walker?
Man, F that guy. You kidding me? That guy's terrible. He should never be anywhere near governor's mansion again.
Well, with that in mind, I'd like to start this show today, like we used to start so many shows historically, Dom, with a little Walker bashing.
It's been a long time, and it's so appropriate to do. We got to revisit that more often.
Paul Fadlin at the Cap Times. Scott Walker still profits by demonizing educators.
Yes, he does.
Well, that's what the recall was really all about, Dom. It was about the demonization, the pitting of neighbor against neighbor, the attack of the public sector unions here in the state of Wisconsin, the drop in the bomb, the Act 10. That's where we picked this little column up, Paul Fadlin, as mentioned. For years, Madison author Lawrence Tabak studied Scotty Walker, but almost certainly not in a way the former Republican governor welcomed. In 2021, Tabak published his meticulously researched book about Foxconn, Walker's signature economic development catastrophe. The book's title summarized Tabak's takeaway: Foxconn, imaginary jobs, bulldozed homes, and sacking of local government.
Wanker.
Yeah, that was his legacy, really, Dom.
Yeah.
That many more bad things. Foxconn was heralded in 2017 by Walker and then President Donald Trump as a transformative economic development partnership to benefit southeastern Wisconsin. But the grandiose investment and employment promises by Foxconn, and I would say down by extension Wanker, a Taiwan-based Foxconn, a Taiwan-based electronics firm, never materialized. Just last week, a critic running for office in the village of Mount Pleasant, home to Foxconn, called it the largest failed publicly funded economic development project in U.S. history.
Oh,
Also last week, Tabek shared his thoughts with me, the author, about his latest encounter with Walker, which came via a fundraising letter addressed to Tabek's 96-year-old father-in-law at an Iowa nursing home. Tabek said his father-in-law grew up in South Dakota on a South Dakota farm and has spent most of his life in Iowa. He's not exceptional among his peer group of old white guys, and his chief occupation these days, watching Fox News. And when he went into nursing care this fall, my wife and I began handling his mail. Tom, you don't even like handling your own mail.
Curdy, the 7-page letter from Walker was on behalf of the Young America's Foundation. Walker became its president after losing his bid for a third term as Wisconsin's governor to Democrat Tony Evers in 2018. Tabek noted that the foundation's stated goal is, quote, public education on the ideas of individual freedom, strong national defense, free enterprise, traditional values, and leadership. Tabek wondered how Walker's commitment to free enterprise aligns with directing $3 billion from Wisconsin taxpayers to a foreign corporation like Foxconn. Delving more deeply into the group, Tabek noted that Young America's high-profile activities include ownership and management of the Ronald Reagan Ranch near Santa Barbara, California. The group also maintains the late Republican president's childhood home in Dixon, Illinois.
You know, Don, that childhood home in Dixon, Illinois, is 2 short hours and 2 dispensaries away.
Well, you never have to get past one unless you're working on the limits. The letter to Tabek's father-in-law begins, "You are a steadfast supporter of one of America's most important national treasures, Ronald Reagan's beloved ranch home in Santa Barbara." On the letter's 7th page, Tabek found the financial ask, a $2,000 donation. "My father-in-law is not a wealthy guy," Tabek said. "He's a high school graduate who served in the Navy in the waning years of World War II and worked as a traveling sales rep in the oil industry." Walker's letter explains how raising money to pay for student visits to honor Reagan is clearly important to offset, quote, woke indoctrination that has hijacked the homes of our founding fathers. What? Walker says that James Madison's Virginia home, Montpelier, lacks displays that focus on the 4th president's accomplishments, such as authoring the Constitution. Walker's letter claims the site has been converted into a bastion of wokeism where slavery and racism take center stage. He also complains that no American flags are displayed at Madison's home, which he calls a visual reminder of the hijacking of American history. Walker also claims that nearby Monticello, the home of Thomas Jefferson, is no longer a tribute to our 3rd president, but instead, visitors are overwhelmed with the horrors of slavery. Walker has an antidote for those dreadful Virginia presentations, encouraging people like Tabek's father-in-law to finance youth trips to pay homage to conservative hero Reagan. Walker
that all makes sense now, Dom.
Totally. Walker writes that such visits would help counteract the left's lies on race, so-called climate change, BLM ideology, income inequality, and many other trending issues. You can rescue a teenager, Crudy, from liberalism.
Do you have to turn him into a welder like Wanker used to advocate for?
The reality is that Walker, in his lucrative foundation job, is continuing a long pattern of building his resume and cashing in by tearing down educators and education systems. Long before the Foxconn debacle, Walker attained national notoriety by attacking public education as a newly elected governor. Wisconsin is still recovering from his attacks on public employee unions and his consistent demonization of the teaching profession. As a result, Evers, a career educator, is still trying to help schools recover financially and repair the damaged stature of teaching. Walker's record as governor included not only the harm he did to public education and the Foxconn debacle, but also blocking what would now be a state-of-the-art high-speed rail system and generally governing by dividing people. But attacking public education was and remains the central focus. In recent days, Crudy, the national Republicans have lamented how their party is losing ground with younger voters. Hard to imagine why, given their denial of climate change and personal reproductive rights, but warm embrace of automatic weapons? Go figure.
You wanted to pick up and carry your...
Take it home, baby.
Here is a quote. GOP sounds alarm over struggles with Gen Z voters, proclaims a recent headline at The Hill. Experts in the article attribute GOP losses last fall primarily to Gen Z, the youngest voting cohort, and to millennials. They point out that Republicans are not in the social media channels that the young people frequent. Walker, quoted in the article, has a different explanation, that liberal indoctrination in schools is to blame. He says young voters are deprived of multiple schools of thought on issues, like incorrect views and thoughts, multiple views of thoughts on issues, including views considered right of center. So Wanker wants 96-year-olds on fixed incomes like Tabek's father-in-law to help pay for his crusade to, as he writes, rescue a teenager from liberalism. This author writes, my most recent column featured a conversation with Evers in which he emphasized the importance of investing in quality public education as the state tries to attract and retain young people for its workforce. So you might say our two most recent governors have focused on education, just in very different ways. Wanker. He was always the wanker, right?
Banlin writing at the Cap Times, at captimes.com. Yeah, bringing it back, man. Like the guy, and what does he do? He's tweeting out, right, Curdy? He sent me a little image overnight. Oh, hell, the Packers have only won, Super Bowls under Republican governors? Huh? I guess
I was quite insulted.
Mega?
I had to go make comment on his social media page. As I pointed out, he was the singular governor to bring us Foxconn. You cannot defend it. Republicans, I dare you. 844-967-2789. Come back, Devil's Advocates radio show. What is this, Tuesday? We're calling it Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
It's a Walker Bashin' Tuesday edition. Join the party. Remember when we made Walker Bash trend on Twitter the night of his State of the State address? I was so proud. I felt like we'd gone viral for the very first time. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates.
I was drawn to Ronald Reagan because he was a Republican and a conservative.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon. You wouldn't hire me
to protect his home and family from disaster. Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Bill Press, thanks for sticking around, man.
The idea that idiot, Ron Johnson, the guy who says can't call it an armed riot because they didn't have any arms. Read or listen to what Michael Fanone says about Ron Johnson and the fact that there were no arms. It was an armed riot. And Ron Johnson, he's a phony who doesn't deliver, who lies, who certainly does not represent Wisconsin. I hope the people realize there's no Senate seat more important in this country.
For podcasts of shows, special events, and more, visit civicmedia.us.
Veterans, whatever you're going through, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Weather brought to you by the Joint Chiropractic. Through January 14th, you can buy a 10-month wellness plan and get 2 free months. Visit us today at our 4 Madison area locations. No appointment needed. Open evenings and weekends. The Joint Chiropractic.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Freezing rain possible at times tonight, otherwise overcast. Lows dip down to about 29. Winds out of the southwest around 5 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow. Highs level off around 42. Overcast skies again tomorrow night. Mixed precipitation possible at times. Lows level off around 30. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 33 degrees.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon. You wouldn't hire me to run condos. You wouldn't hire me to run HP. You probably wouldn't hire me to run the United States Senate.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but the show is kind of a big deal.
When the rain dancing and starts my mind.
We are back for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Jodi Habush Sinykin, she's a candidate for Wisconsin's 8th Senate District. She's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We can grab some calls right now at 844-967-2789.
Let's take Bill. He's been patient. Bill from Oconomowoc. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, Bill.
Oh, just great. And keep up the job, guys. You do a wonderful job. But you really made my day. Anytime you want to bash Walker, that's my kind of day. You put a cherry on the Sunday for today, talking about Walker. Maybe we could get a monument erected to him to list how he destroyed Wisconsin as governor, you know, from education to the DNR to the teachers to, I can go on and on, Foxconn. This man was able to do so much destruction in Wisconsin. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this part. He no longer lives in Wisconsin. There's a
let's clear on that. I think he's on Milwaukee Lake or something. He often brags about it. You know, now that he's big time, now that he's cashing the big Reagan Foundation checks, I think he's moved up in the world.
But anyhow, keep up the Walker bashing. That guy left a legacy of destruction like no other governor we've never ever had. And boy, you guys can work a lot of magic. Man, if you could get him on your show, oh, I wouldn't miss that for the world.
I don't know if I'm that magical, Bill, but you talk about the legacy of Scott Walker. We actually, and we've got to harken back on this, Tom. We have so honored. There is a legacy that we have left to honor the former governor of the state of Wisconsin, Scotty Wanker. He ran for president, Tom, as you well recall, and we chased him. We went to Iowa. He didn't last very long. He didn't get beyond Iowa, but he often bragged about his time as a Eagle Scout. I was an Eagle Scout.
He was very, very proud. Yes, very proud.
Well, he wasn't a college graduate, so he would often hearken about his greatest life achievement. Apparently, it was in scouting. So when Scott Walker was at the top of the presidential polls, we became aware of something. I think we saw it at the Huffington Post, one of those kind of, aggregators. We see this article about Donald Trump being memorialized as a butt plug. And there was a guy in Miami named Fernando that did these sculpted butt plugs of Donald Trump.
3D printer, I think it was, in the shape and likeness of Donald Trump for various positions that were butt plugs.
So it could be mass produced. And we, being the fine radio host and, antagonist to Scotty Wanker that we like to think we are, well, we called up Fernando and we asked him, we commissioned him to do a little work for us. And we've created a legacy on behalf of not just Scott Walker, but I'd also like to thank the Devil's Advocates, because we have branded the Scott Walker butt plug. He's wearing his Eagle Scout uniform, the bald spot prominent at the top. Had to do a little sanding, I'm sure, when he created that. Put the color on, then sand the top off like a reversed yarmulke. And all the little merit badges. And the Scotty Walker butt plug, the sash, the Boy Scout. I was an Eagle Scout sash. They're all demerit badges. They all have individual dishonorable things that he did. I think there's like 20 plus of them. I think you needed 20 to become an Eagle Scout. And then Dom, on let's call it the working part, the part that remains external. The flat part, if you will. If he was standing on his feet, the Scott Walker butt plug, as it represents the man. And it is a striking likeness.
It is very good. Yes, Fernando did a great job.
Eagle Scout uniform, the sash, the bald spot, and when you flip it up and you look on the bottom, the Devil's Advocates, limited edition.
The logo, it's a sign of quality.
And it's still available today for purchase. And you can buy yours today, Bill, you from Oconomowoc and anyone in the fair audience. I didn't start this little effort today to move some Scott Walker butt plugs, but for old time's sake, our friend Fernando at Political Sculptor, TOR.com. And they're fairly affordable. I got to look, Dom. There's been inflation since, oh no, they're still the great deal they always were. You can purchase this item for $28.99.
Oh, such a deal. I got it for you.
3D printed sculptures, the bald spot. Oh, it's glorious, Dom. And Fernando then took it a little beyond our original interpretation, like pencil holders. Sort of prison style, bent knee Scott Walker, holding a pencil in his prison purse.
That protrudes out of his backside. Yes, Fernando, great job. But Curdy, and so deserved, and we had a lot of fun. And I actually still have one at the house, so make sure if you check them out. Yeah, I kept one. But literally, these
are in action every so often, do you, fella?
Well, it's kind of a gritty, more of an exfoliator. But Scott Walker, when he came in, right? What were the biggest lies of Scott Walker? One, I'm going to create 250,000 jobs, right? Remember? I mean, the dude never got close in 8 years? Not even close. Number two, Scott Walker, I solved a $3.6 billion budget deficit. Never happened. This never happened. You can look at the CAFR reports online. There is no number. And of course, the debacle that we talked about that we are still living with, this Foxconn debacle. So, this business, Republicans are supposed to be good at business. No, they're not. They're supposed to be all about the local government. No, they rolled over local governments, right? No, they're supposed to be about, investment. No, they gave money to a foreign corporation. Why? Because it was political. It was a political deal from day one. They kicked people out of their homes using eminent domain. You're talking about the big hand of government because Scott Walker wanted a plant that was never going to happen. They made people lose their homes. What a terrible, terrible governor.
But a great butt plug. PoliticalSculptor.com. A fine guest joins us next. 8 CD. Send it them. Jodi, Habush, Sinykin. Stick around.
Drum's got Kevin Walker.
Are you with me?
I can't. It's too big.
Well, my little friend, got something jammed in here real good.
I love being governor.
From Columbus to Fox Lake, Devil Radio on WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through your day.
ABC News, I'm Morgan Norwood. The Pentagon confirmed the U.S. will begin training Ukrainian troops on the Patriot missile defense system at an Army base in Oklahoma as soon as next week. Spokesman Brigadier General Pat Ryder says current plans are to train up to 100 Ukrainian soldiers on the system in the coming months.
The longer those troops are off the line, they're not actually engaged in combat. And so trying to work with the Ukrainians to see what we can do to accelerate the training timeline.
House Republican Pat Fallon has introduced articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas related to the border crisis. It comes as President Biden is in Mexico for talks with leaders of Mexico and Canada. ABC News is learning Mexico has agreed to contribute $1.5 billion towards a joint program with the U.S. to improve infrastructure along the U.S.-Mexico border. Flooding and evacuations are still underway in northern and southern California. This is ABC News.
You know what? I'll tell you something. There's nothing better than a hot sausage, couple 2-3 cold beers, and Devil Radio on a box.
For Civic Media, I'm Terry Bell with this news. Governor Evers says he won't support a flat tax or universal school choice. Evers tells the Upfront program those proposals are bad for Wisconsin.
Hi there, Jodi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Evan, producer here. One sec.
Hi, Evan.
Line. There we go. We
Hi
got you
there.
now. You're on the mic if you want, Crudy.
Hi there. Welcome back.
Oh, good. How are you? I haven't seen you in real life.
I'm good. Hopefully I'm not as, I don't know, everyone has a expectation of what the radio guy is going to look like in real life. I'd like to say or think we're not as bad as some imagine us to be.
You're looking right there. You got the devil's hat to match the devil in the background. All good.
Hi, Jodi. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been a few years since we talked about Foxconn. I remember that.
We're going to have to kind of relive the greatest hits, Jody, for at least a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so. Am I going to be on video, or am I just going to be my voice?
Voice on radio, but we do have a modestly watched Facebook live stream that you'll appear on.
Okay.
And
I'm hoping
YouTube.
my
Be
dogs
shared.
that stay quiet.
Politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity.
All right, 60 seconds and we'll be live.
Lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity.
Got a little message on the caller ID thing.
Okay.
We're all looking for things.
He just wanted to let you guys know.
Tell them to stick around. We'll take them after the interview.
For 16 years, Easy Office Products has been a high-quality local option for businesses, nonprofits, and home offices. Woman-owned and community-focused, Easy Open has everything.
Someone also texted me a visual link.
Nice.
Shared it on the social medias. It's been a while. Promote our friend Fernando.
That's the letters EZOP.
All right, we got about 20 seconds.
608-310-4300 and tell them Devil Radio sent you.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday edition. Dominic, we got a fine guest joining us right now live via Zoom. She is a candidate for Wisconsin's 8th Senate District. She's Democrat Jodi Habush Sinykin, and we welcome her back to the Devil's Advocates. Jodi, welcome back.
Hey, Jodi.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here today.
We were just reminiscing before you got here, a little Walker bashing for old time's sake. Jodi, if I recall correctly, last time you came around, the topic was Foxconn. What was your prior advocacy? We'll get to the Senate seat in a minute. What did you do prior, Jodi?
With regard to Foxconn, you may recall I was very much focused on looking at the proposed contract and enterprise through the lens of the Great Lakes Compact. That is work that I had undergone for well over 10 years prior. And our mission was to have a strong and enforceable Great Lakes Compact to protect our region's greatest natural treasure for generations to come by actually adhering to the letter of the compact itself. And I was very concerned that the diversion proposed to provide water for this Foxconn project was not in compliance with the Great Lakes Compact. And we litigated that, and that's really what I was talking about on this show.
And Jodi, if I recall correctly, it wasn't necessarily even Foxconn's primary ask. It seemed like that was motivated perhaps by setting a precedent for perhaps some future donor to be named later. But if I recall correctly, at the time, Foxconn didn't want the straw that Scott Walker was offering them, did they?
It's hard to know. One of the problems or challenges of this contract from beginning to the present is just the murkiness, the lack of transparency and accountability. It was very hard to tease out who wanted the water, for when, why, and how. And I have to tell you, just trying to keep track over the years since that time I appeared on your show, it hasn't gotten much clearer as to how that water would be used or will ever be used. But certainly you are correct. It did set a harmful precedent.
Well, Jodi, wasn't that all flushed out on the back of the cocktail napkin that Walker signed with the Foxconn people?
It's hard to know. I wasn't there, but I think the image you just raised sounds like about right.
Jodi Habush Sinykin has declared herself a candidate for the 8th Senate District. And Alberta, darling, I'm going to turn this one over to Dom. That was Dom senator for the longest time.
Great district, Jodi.
But Alberta Darling was on the Joint Finance Committee. She played a large part. The outgoing Republican, now retired, stepped down from her seat on December 1st. And now we got a special election, this unexpected vacancy. And that seat, as the outcome of the election and the gerrymander would have it, gave a 2/3 senatorial majority to the Republicans. And it is only Darling stepping down at this time that leaves them without the power to impeach. This becomes a very important seat. And before we talk about your candidacy, I wanted you to talk about a few of your potential general election opponents. We've got an election denier. We've got another one who wrote a letter to the former vice president on the 5th of January saying, please don't certify the election. And those are probably your front runners at this point, don't you think, Jodi, on the Republican side?
It appears to be. Their primary is end of February, as you know, February 21st. I agree. The positions that I've read about in the newspaper and what I've heard are exactly as you just stated, which is actually one of the main reasons why I put my name in for this seat.
Jodi Habush, Sinykin, candidate for Wisconsin's 8th Senate District. And thank you for doing so, Jodi. I was shocked and appalled that of the possibility of one of those two election deniers representing me in Madison, Jodi. I mean, I don't know how it is. I don't know how we got to this point where election deniers can get to the can rise up like this, and it's going to be a tough primary on the Republican side. But that's going to hash itself out. Jodi, looking forward to your candidacy. Let's talk a little bit about the functions right now as it stands in Madison. We have a $6 billion surplus right now. If you were to be elected to the Senate, what would your priorities be if you had a say on that?
Yeah, you're correct. With regard to that surplus, that has been a culmination of a trend over the years to take money from local control and amass it and centrally in Madison. And so where local communities, local school districts and the like have been starved of funds, what we have is this buildup of funds at the state level. And what I think will be important is to identify how we can reinvest in our communities, our education, actually our citizens in tax savings and tax decreases. So all of that needs to be redistributed fairly. And I think the time is now, and we shouldn't delay that any further.
Jodi, we've seen some headlines recently of Republicans lamenting the fact that they're losing the younger voters, and abortion is still going to be a big issue here in the state of Wisconsin in this next election cycle. What's your position? I'm sure it's a priority for you, and what are your other priorities should you become state senator?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking, Dom. As you would probably expect, but I will state it very clearly, I strongly stand for a woman's right to choose her own health care options, most certainly including the right to choose an abortion. That decision is between a woman and her physician, and it should not be a politician to enter into that decision-making process. And that is a common sense and sane approach to that very important life decision. With regard to other issues, as you would imagine, I am pro-conservation. I want us to protect and conserve our state's natural places, address climate change concerns, and of course, protect our wildlife in an appropriate way, given the biodiversity crisis that we're experiencing at the global level. I believe that it is very important to have strong and safe communities. And as such, I believe that a strong, well-funded, and just law enforcement system is a priority for our public safety, and I'd be glad to talk about that. And I'm really focused on education, how important it is for Wisconsin to invest in our schools at every level, preschool, grade school, high school, college, and apprenticeship programs, so that we give our citizens the best chance to contribute and to keep the best minds in our state, rather than what we keep reading about, that there's this exodus to other states. So those are just a few. Of course, I have opinions on many other issues, but those are ones that are important to me.
One more regarding the conservation. The DNR, Fred Preen, of course, recently just finally stepped down, the Walker appointee to the DNR board. What's your sense on how the Republicans are working with Evers or not working with Evers, and how do you expect to work with the Republicans if elected?
I am grateful that Preen has stepped down, because that has long been something that has been of great concern and harmful effect, not just to the Natural Resources Board, but seriously for our democracy. It set a really dangerous precedent, another one. But that one was a first, and it didn't look like it was going, no one knew when it was going to end. So that is important. I can tell you that with regard to working with Republicans, I have an excellent track record. The proudest accomplishments of my career to date have been very much working across the aisle and with a variety of diverse stakeholders, literally industrial, municipal, environmental, business folks, really to work out common sense long-term solutions. We're looking again at the Great Lakes Compact. We're looking at groundwater quantity concerns. We're looking at puppy mill bill that passed unanimously after many years of being held up, and also a recent education mandate bill. So this is really my strong suit, is to try to go to Madison and work out practical solutions across the aisle and to address this state of dysfunction that has descended on us for like the last 10 plus years. We really need to start having the legislature working for the Wisconsin people, all of our people, Republicans, Democrats alike.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We have a fine guest live via Zoom. She is a newly announced candidate to Wisconsin's 8th Senate District, or at least the race to become Wisconsin's 8th Senate District representative. She is Jodi Habush Sinykin. And Jodi, want to make it clear, you're an attorney by vocation. Is that correct?
That's correct. I've been an attorney for over 30 years, and I started out in private litigation practice and worked for a federal judge. And then I have been working for many years as an environmental policy maker and attorney for Midwest Environmental Advocates and my own sole proprietorship, as well as taught for over 6 years at the School of Freshwater Sciences. I taught a water law class and an environmental justice class.
Well, Jodi, I don't know if you're a winner, but Dom took the LSAT.
Twice.
We tease. Jodi, you know, you talk about the best and brightest. We want to be served by our best and brightest. And I would say that some of our best and brightest, perhaps yourself, have been discouraged by the nature of the political beast, the elective cycle. Do you feel like you chose politics, or do you feel like sort of politics have been thrust upon you by the circumstance, by the special election?
It's a really interesting question. I have to say that a matter of just like 3.5 weeks ago, I was reading the newspaper, like I'm sure you all do, and feeling increasingly concerned by those who are coming forward to represent our district. I have deep roots in this district and in Wisconsin. And I thought, oh my gosh, what the heck is going to happen to our democracy, our rights, our healthcare system? And I just couldn't bear the thought of being a bystander to it, sitting back. And I was very concerned, this is very personal, but concerned that I would deeply regret not doing what I could do to make a difference. And so when I was asked, I thought hard about it. And I realized that Wisconsin truly is at a tipping point. With this seat, if we flip it blue, we can protect Evers' veto, we can protect against impeachment abuses, and we can make a significant difference for the future. I strongly believe that, and that's why I chose to step forward.
Well, Deb Andrenka, the Democrat who serves one of the 3 assembly districts, had just gone through an election and did not want to go back and run for this office. You talked about someone giving you the call, and you don't have to name names, although we like to name names. But Jodi, did you feel like you were recruited for this position, and was it the Democratic Party?
I was asked by several people, and they are friends of mine. I mean, when you get to be at this point in my life, you you've been working and supporting people for many years. And I did not take those requests lightly. I did my own research and made my own phone calls and really thought long and hard about it. I can tell you that Deb Andraka has been an incredible ally and friend, a great mentor and advisor. She was not the one who initially had reached out to me, but since then she's been an excellent resource and supporter. But it was more that I've always been engaged on these issues as an environmental advocate, as a citizen, as someone who cares about our children's future, and just someone who loves Wisconsin, just keeping it real. Sorry to sound mushy, but it's true. And I was just really concerned that I would just regret standing by and then wringing my hands next year when all those terrible bills, many of which, guns in the school and just, the nature of the bills that Governor Evers had to veto, was concerned that I would be watching them come back with no ability for him to prevent them from becoming law.
Jodi, Habush, Sinykin, if people want to support your candidacy, how can they get involved?
They can get involved. They can go to my website. They can make contributions. They can, most importantly, let people know.
I'm sorry. Jodi, give them the website address. Make it easy for them.
Oh my gosh. I can't even tell it to you right now. I know it's jodiforsenate.com, I believe, but I'm sorry I don't have it at my fingertips. You think I would know. You can tell that I'm a new candidate. But most importantly, if I could just get this message across, please vote on April 4th. Please vote and get your friends and neighbors, acquaintances, work friends, everyone, vote, 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 please.
Thank you, Jodi. Come back, more Devil's Advocates.
Thank you, Jodi.
Thank you all.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles,
You want to verify what her website is? We'll share it.
right in its own ecosystem.
Yes, I will check right now. Sorry that I didn't have that handy. Let's see here. Website.
Just a little bit ago. Can I share just a little? Please. Friend, Trump is one day away from taking the stage in Wisconsin, and we need you to help stop big.
Yes, it is. It is www.jodiforsenate.com. Excellent. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Your show is awesome.
Podcast library at varnwi.com.
I'm Smoke Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfire.
Dude, I want this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Bear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Weather brought to you by the Joint Chiropractic, making routine chiropractic care affordable and convenient. Start the new year right with a 10-month wellness plan and get 2 months free. Visit us at any of our 4 Madison area locations. No appointment needed, open evenings and weekends.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Freezing rain possible at times tonight, otherwise overcast skies. Lows dip down to about 29. Southwest winds around 5 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected again tomorrow. Highs level off around 42. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow night. Mixed precipitation possible at times. Lows around 30. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 33 degrees.
Occupy didn't start on Wall Street. It started on our street. The Devil's Advocates.
At 844-967-2789.
You know, Dom, I don't know if they heard the whole phone number there. I'm going to repeat it. 844-967-2789. Speak like a man, you.
Oh, I'm talking to the mic, man. That's what I was taught to do. Thank you, Jodi Habush Sinykin. Vote for Jodi. Come on, this is my Senate district. I cannot have election deniers representing me in Madison. You can find her on the website, as mentioned, jodiforsenate.com, JODIFOR Senate.com.
I'm glad you clarified that. Jodi, not the only common spelling of Jodi, and the FOR. You never know if they're throwing the numerical 4 in there. You know how it goes, man. The one question we did not ask the fine candidate for Wisconsin's 8th Senate District, legalize marijuana. What were you saying?
Oh, I'll have to get her back, man. I mean, it's coming quick. Yeah, I'm assuming, the Dem platform is legalization, right? I mean, that's what Tony's all about now. Hell, even the Republicans are teasing some medicinal flop. But, we'll ask Jodi next time she comes around where she stands on the taxation, regulation, and legalization of cannabis in the state of Wisconsin. I'm sure she's for it.
And our cannabis activist buddy, Alan Robinson, joining us on the big show tomorrow to talk about some of that legalized marijuana stuff, the good stuff, not the medical pill form that Republicans are proposing. But back to the phones, the lightly screened Chad from Madison. Chad, I understand, sir. You are the proud owner of a Scott Kevin Walker butt plug from the political sculptor with an O.com.
Hey, Chad.
Hello, I am a proud owner of one of those. I don't have an enhanced collection beyond that, but it is the sole, trophy in the room, shall we say. I actually earned it based on one of your shows. I heard you talking about those a little bit earlier, so I thought I'd chime in and say thank you for the gift. I actually was on your show live and in person, face-to-face with y'all when you're at the Jade Monkey, when you had broadcast from that location, I guess.
The Jade Monkey, one of Hawk's finest neighborhood bars. That's probably our favorite of all the fighter Hawks bars, the Jade Monkey.
Well, I thought I would contribute to your sponsors there and make sure they got their plugs. I know we want to do a good job of that, right?
Well, butt plug as the case may be. That's cool how you did that there, Chad.
Touche. All right.
Any other political thoughts other than how bad the former gubernator was?
Well, no, I do echo the thoughts here, earlier guest, though, that really did spin off a decade of significant problems, and it did kind of lead the way on a lot of the conservative charge that we saw result in, the Trump presidency, essentially. So it's an unfortunate continuing trend, and I'm glad we have people like your last guest that are willing to step up and be activists about that, whether, we all find our own form of activism, whether that's chatting with neighbors, whether it's taking a more public stand. We all need to do what we each can and individually do, make this world better.
Or buying and proudly owning a Scott Kevin Walker butt plug. Chad, you did your part for humanity, man.
A great point, Chad. Appreciate it. Not everyone is cut out to run for office, but as mentioned, there's lots of things you can do to help facilitate. Do your civic duty. Otherwise, if you don't, people like Janelle Brandon will step in, and then we got that to deal with.
Jodi, with an I, Habush, Sinykin, a fine candidate, a Democrat, the only Dem running in the 8th Senate District, the special, February 21st, that's the primary. That's when all the election deniers fight off. And then on April 4th will be the general. And one general thought, had this strong candidate not stepped up and run. I'd seen some of the other candidates people were trying to encourage to run. I'm telling you, you got to do better than just take the LSAT.
844-967-2789. I did do better, Curdy. I took it twice. Gene from Eau Claire, you're up. Welcome, Gene. What do you got for us?
Hey, Jeannie.
Hi, guys. Hey, I think this is great that you have this woman as a candidate, because I had communications with her years ago. Just an outstanding person, cares about people, cares about the environment, cares about workers. I mean, this woman's the real deal. So I hope people get excited and help her whatever way they can, because you guys are lucky to have somebody like her. Because I learned, with what she helped me with, and she's honest and has integrity, and she'll work real hard for you guys. So thanks for having her on there, and best of luck, because she's an outstanding candidate. And, it sounds good, the butt plugs, because I never got in on a butt plug. And we laugh about the butt plugs all the time around here. It was the only thing that brought a smile on our faces when that, what was running our our state. So thanks a lot, guys, for all you do. Bye.
Bye.
And I'd like to thank you all for the maturity level that we all show in association with the Devil's Advocates radio show, the most mature radio show ever.
Indubitably.
You know, I was both so embarrassed and so proud when we rolled out the Scott Walker Eagle Scout political sculpted butt plug for sale. To this day, you can buy one, $28.99 online at politicalsculptor.com. It is the only true way to honor a butt plug like Scotty Wanker.
Well, and I right. I don't know. I mean, it was the most appropriate. I mean, if you could, sit down and think for, generations have pondered how to best memorialize terrible politicians. Well, it doesn't get much worse than people like Scott Walker, and I think it is absolutely appropriate. And thank you all for playing along.
844-967-2789. Our buddy Jake.
Okay, I'll wait. Hopefully.
Hey,
what's going on?
Oh man, come on.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Okay. Yeah, not much. Having Jeannie talk about butt plugs, I just laughed my ass off so hard. It was pretty cool because the way she puts things, it's just funny. So thanks, Jeannie. It was just hilarious. I don't know why. But hey,
is this Jake from Milwaukee? It's a different Jake, right? I recognize you.
Yeah. It's a Jake from. There's another Jake now. Oh God.
There's alternative Jakes, man.
Oh.
There's even two CJs.
Well.
There's a good one and an evil one.
Really? But I bet you the other Jake is the stoned one, right? I would imagine.
How could we tell the difference?
Okay. Well, I was actually thinking about Patience Rogensack today and what kind of a whore prostitute she became once Scott Walker got elected. Yeah.
Seems strong words. She did become the chief.
Yes, she did, but she had to she worked with them, the WMC, the Realtors Association, and Club for Growth or whatever, and she became the Supreme Court justice person, whoever they call that. The chief. She had to work with the Republicans in order for that to happen.
Jake, excellent point you make. Whether you're from Milwaukee, Eureka, stoned or stoned. More devils.
Looking for a new pair of glasses? Ula Eyewear has you covered. As one of Madison's only local, independent, and family-owned eyewear stores, Ula has been connecting people with fun, unique, and stylish frames for nearly 25 years. With glasses, readers, and sunglasses for customers of all ages, you'll find a variety of frames to fit your style and price points to fit your lifestyle. So don't wait. Head to Ula Eyewear now at Hilldale Shopping Center and find your pair of glasses. Ula Eyewear, uniquely you.
You are never far away from your favorite radio station. We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. And if you missed your favorite show or game, listen to a podcast of it anytime on the app or our website, civicmedia.us.
Join me, Stephanie Miller, and the entire Sexy Liberal Resistance every morning from 8 to 11 for The Stephanie Miller Show right here on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Listen live Monday through Friday on Devil Radio, Wisconsin's home for progressive news.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
ABC News. I'm Derek Dennis. At least 16 people are dead following back-to-back storms in California this week. Tens of thousands are also without power across the state. ABC News meteorologist Melissa Griffin says more storms are on the way in the coming days.
Already so much rain across this area and an additional 10 to 15 inches possible in parts of Northern California, even down into LA through San Diego, locally 5 to 10 inches possible. No doubt we're going to see more in the way of flooding and mudslides.
10 other states are also under alerts for heavy rain and snow. President Biden is in Mexico wrapping up talks with leaders from Mexico and Canada. The Biden administration is working to carve out policies to deal with the influx of migrants at the southern border. Mega Millions has turned into Mega Billion. The jackpot now $1.1 billion for tonight's drawing. In Philadelphia, sounds of a lottery ticket machine printing out purchased tickets. There hasn't been a winning ticket drawn since mid-October. This is ABC News. New GOP Congressman George Santos is facing an ethics complaint in the House. That after he admitted to fabricating his work and personal background, Santos says he isn't concerned.
I have done nothing unethical.
Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman, along with another New York representative, requested the ethics probe. He says there are questions over Santos's campaign finances.
I don't think anyone on either side of the aisle will believe anything that George Santos has to say, but the documents will speak for themselves.
Former Trump White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders was sworn in today as the governor of Arkansas. During her speech, Huckabee noted she is the first daughter of a former governor to serve and also the first female governor in the state.
This day is especially notable because I happen to be the youngest governor serving anywhere in the country.
Sanders is 40 years old. Her father, Mike Huckabee, also served as governor. I'm Derek Dennis, ABC News.
When you're gonna turn on the radio, you gotta listen to Devil Radio 92.7. It could be, it might be, it is Devil Radio 92.7.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matner with your headlines. Medical marijuana may have a chance of becoming legal in Wisconsin. Leaders of the GOP-led legislature say they'd be in favor of very restricted access for people with serious medical needs. Governor Evers is in favor of legalizing not only medical pot, but also for recreational use, which Republicans oppose. Michigan and Illinois already have legal recreational use. Medical marijuana is legal in Minnesota and Iowa. And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz tweeted last week he's ready to legalize adult-use cannabis. More out-of-state students enrolled in the UW system over the last decade, up 63%. At the same time, in-state enrollment dropped by 20%. Tuition rates were frozen for in-state students until 2021. Non-resident students pay an annual tuition fee that is 4 times higher. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN, 1580 AM.
Go by any construction site in Wisconsin, you're going to see a lot of Michaels trucks. Since 2014, they've had more than $1 billion worth of contracts with the state government.
A large part of those coming with Foxconn without any results in that area.
Do we want a governor who might be giving his brothers the contract? I think he needs to answer that before the election.
We'll just kick that one down the road. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But of course, Michaels Corporation would get to build that said bridge.
Listen Monday through Friday from 2 to 3. It's Dueling Tangents.
Do you have Flex or health savings account money available? The team at Ula Eyewear would love to help you put those dollars towards something stylish, useful, and fun. Ula Eyewear has been family-owned and operated for nearly 25 years. Ula prides itself on pairing excellent customer service with unique, quality, and eye-catching eyewear options for everyone. So invest in you and the eyewear you want by visiting Ula Eyewear today at Hilldale Shopping Center in Madison. Learn more about their selection and reframed initiative at ulaeyewear.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
The plaintiff, Donald J. Trump, hereby serves his suit against the defendants, Hillary Clinton and her cohorts, orchestrated an unthinkable plot, one that shocks the conscience and is an affront to the nation's democracy. This week on Fox. You know what I mean? Like you're throwing a few too many adverbs and adjectives in this sentence.
One man, one mission Donald Trump gets made fun of. This is Watergate 2.
Making radio great again.
The song just embodies the Packers for those first 7 weeks.
It's bad. Is that what you're trying to get at? A terrible song, a terrible team?
Who was that?
That's from the Emoji Movie, man. That's how I heard it.
You watched that garbage?
Yeah, I watched it. Where Sir Patrick Stewart played the poop.
It's actually a highly underrated movie.
Be sure to tune in for Packer Outright Opinions Friday nights at 7 p.m. right here on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Madison, tune in every weekday from 11 to 2 on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM for the Tom Hartman program. Join the show's conversation because our democracy is not a spectator sport. Listen live right here on Devil Radio.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the happier happy hour. Can't quite get it straight down. The 2 for Tuesday. I haven't even started drinking yet. Yeah, I've been taking her easy this January.
Oh,
we had one occasion to drink. Night Giannis scored 55.
To drink, man. How about smoking? Is there always an occasion to smoke?
I didn't say it was a dry January. I just said I'd been cutting back on the drinking.
Good man.
Trying to watch my girlish figure and all those sort of things.
Oh, yes, of course.
So it's not that. But anyways, here we are. Happier happy hour, the Tuesday edition. And the phone lines, they're open, as always, at 844-967-2789. Know that bothers me. I think you're showing disloyalty.
What's the...
I demand, cult-like followers. I want the sort of followers that Alan Weisselberg apparently is over at the Trump org, man. Talking about a guy that'll throw himself on the sword. That's the sort of loyalty I seek from guys like you.
Good luck with that, Crudy. CNN reporting today, Alan Weisselberg, former President Trump's longtime chief financial officer, was sentenced by a New York judge to 5 months in jail for his role in a long tax fraud scheme after testifying as the state's witness against the Trump organization. Following the court hearing, Weisselberg, who is 75 years old, is expected to report to Rikers Island, the notorious New York City jail, to begin serving his sentence immediately.
Rikers, that is the hammer, Dom.
Well,
I hear 5 months for effectively. I mean, this reminds me of the Goodfellas movie. Young Ray Liotta, when his character gets pops his cherry, keeps his mouth shut.
His first arrest and keeps his mouth shut, yes.
Keeps his mouth shut. And that's effectively what Weisselberg did. He got a small sentence. 15 years was the sentence he was being threatened with. And how he could still shield his not former employer, Donald Trump, but his current employer, because he continued to work for the Trump org throughout the course of time when he was on trial for misleading the Trump org. And of course, the taxing authorities by misleading the Trump org. But of course,
Of course, the Trumps knew what was up. They benefited from the scheme as well. He pleaded guilty last August to 15 felonies in a deal with prosecutors. As part of the deal, he was required to testify truthfully at the trial of Trump organization, pay $2 million in back taxes, interest, and penalties, and waive any right to appeal. His attorney said that
other than the Rikers part, this guy got off easy, man.
70. I agree. Absolutely. He was looking at 5 to 15. And even the 5 month, he'll get out in 3 months for good behavior. But at 75 in Rikers, that's got to age you just a little bit. His attorney said that today is obviously a difficult day for him, but it is a day for which he has been preparing for many months since he entered his plea last August. Quote, Mr. Weisselberg came to court today ready to begin his sentence, and he is grateful that it has now begun. He deeply regrets the lapse in judgment that resulted in his conviction and regrets it most because of the pain it has caused his loving wife, his sons, and wonderful grandchildren. His lapse in judgment. Is that what it was?
It wasn't painful the way you were disloyal to your former employer? You let down the Trump org because he didn't let down the Trump org. Of course, he was the personification of a loyal, mob lieutenant. He kept his mouth shut. He took his pop. He's going off to Rikers. 5 months, he'd do that standing on his head. He might have to if he loses his mattress on the first night.
Right, man. I don't know. And again, given the circumstances and the amount of money we're talking about here, I mean, come on. I mean, 5 months, really? And did the prosecutors, did they benefit that much from the testimony? I mean, granted, they did. The New York District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, Crudy's buddy, he said that the plea and sentence shows that, quote, in Manhattan, you have to play by the rules no matter who you are or who you work for. Now, he and 2 Trump companies have been convicted of felonies, and Weisselberg will serve a jail sentence for his crimes, Bragg added. Well, that's great, but corporations can't serve jail sentences. I wish the Trump payroll organization would do a few months in Rikers as well, but of course that doesn't happen. So it seems a little light, but given the guy's age, it might be a tough few months for him.
Did you ever see sort of a off movie? Kevin Hart and the guy from Elf, Will Ferrell.
Oh, Will Ferrell.
Hit Hard, I think it was called. And
no of the movie. I have not seen it. No.
Guy was getting sent off to San Quentin, and he hired Kevin Hart to toughen him up, get him ready for prison. Do you think Weisselberg will hire a toughener upper? Will he get a prison trainer?
He's going to come out all buff, be doing pull-ups and sit-ups and push-ups the whole time. Maybe get out in the yard and throw some weight around.
What's the recommendation they usually give a guy? When you walk in, first night in prison. Punch the biggest guy right in the mouth. Go find the bully. Or do you think he joins the Aryan Brotherhood? or some other very good people?
Yeah, I mean, very good people on both sides. On both sides.
Do you think there'll be some Trumpsters in there? I mean, do you think there'll be some MAGA supportive? When he gets to prison, will he get a warm welcome for being loyal to Trump? Do you think he's going to get welcomed in the showers? Or
I'm not clear that Donald Trump has, that kind of following in New York. I think a lot of people are kind of.
Well, I would think in prison.
Crap. I'm not clear about that either, man. I mean, I don't know. You can't put a guy like that in general population, can you? Well, what happens? I don't know. I'm curious to see how this all works out. But again, being 75 years old and going to Rikers, even for a night or 2 nights or 2 months or 3 months, is got to be tough.
Did you see what the newest action of the newly elected House majority was? The Republicans defund the IRS after all. So other poor tax cheats like Alan Weisselberg and the Trump org never have to go through the humiliation or accountability of trial and prosecution again.
Not only to abolish and defund the IRS, but also to get rid of the income tax and move to a consumption tax. Well, isn't that nice? I mean, a consumption tax. I mean, those that make less money, spend all their money. You know what I'm saying? And those that have a lot of money, well, they don't consume nearly as much as a percentage of their income or their wealth as those who are not as well off as them.
Do you think this sentence was weak? I found it to be thin gruel, if you will.
I'm not. I wish it would be at least 10 months. Should be at least 20, a year, man. Get them out, but give them a year and let them get out in 7 months. I mean, that seems like. And when you're 75, I mean, what are the actuarial tables going to say about Alan Weisselberg, right? 5, 10 years, maybe. So as a chunk of his tail end of his crooked ass life, yeah, I think it should pay a price. Because if it were you or me, Crudy, we'd be paying the price.
Legal analyst Katie Fang had this to say. I bring you some of the reporting, a little setup. Alan Weisselberg is headed to the infamous Rikers Island prison to serve 5 months after 15 years of tax fraud for former President Donald Trump's businesses. I mean, if you've been doing the crime for 15 consecutive tax filing, isn't that like 15 crimes? But I read on. It's a sentence that is significantly lower than what was anticipated by analysts that thought would be part of the agreement he made with the judge. A little diversionary agreement. Here's a quote from Katie Fang. Alan Weisselberg testified as the star witness by the prosecution, Katie Fang said during her November 22nd, 2022 show. He was supposed to testify truthfully. I emphasize that. Truthfully. He fell on the sword, telling the jury it was all for me. It benefited me. It did not benefit the Trump organization. Now I read on. If Weisselberg lied during the Trump case, the judge threatened to increase the sentence in the case against him. So when Weisselberg was testifying before the court, he claimed that the only person who scored the sweet tax-free deals from the Trump companies was him. That's a blatant lie, said former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen when speaking to Fang at the time. First of all, how is it that the Trump organization was not benefiting? How is it that Donald Trump, it's his company, any benefit that comes to the Trump org is realized by Donald? He's the single and only shareholder in the company. I need a company like that. It became clear throughout the course of the case that it was more than Weisselberg. Former FBI General Counsel Andrew Weissman noted in October that Weisselberg should be worried about the state judge finding he lied on the stand. Yes, I think that's a problem, Dom. He might have lied through omission at minimum, but a little bit more. After it was revealed that Weisselberg wouldn't be going to Rikers for more than 5 months, Fang took to Twitter to say, 5 months is disgustingly weak for 15 years of tax fraud. Being white must be awesome, said Ellie Mistel, the nation's legal analyst, and lawyer and political analyst Bakari Sellers agreed, noting that the American rapper Glorilla was handed a longer sentence for shoplifting. She said that she stole cereal and was sentenced to 3 years. Mistel went on to cite another person of color that was charged with tax fraud and got significantly higher sentences. So here's a final quote to think on. For some off the top of my head comparison, Wesley Snipes got 3 years for tax evasion, served 2.5, always bet on black. Unless you're a criminal, then all white is all right. If I was white, I'd just be straight up steal stuff. College tuition for your damn grandkids for 5 months in jail. Bro, you can't make that kind of money selling drugs for 5 months. Come back, more doubles.
This council has no hesitation in proclaiming you all guilty.
Right to jail, right away.
Now go home and get your f***ing shine box.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you. To get my iced coffee first, I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
There seemingly is a willingness amongst Republicans to subvert future elections. How troubling is that to you, man?
Yeah, I think it's more than troubling. It's the core issue in the upcoming elections in 22 and 24, and it's going to be seen that way by historians. These people are out to destroy the democracy. To me, that is the linchpin issue in the upcoming election.
To what end, Matt?
Do we destroy our democracy or not?
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take. But it gave my mom and me more time to plan, together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Weather brought to you by the Joint Chiropractic. Take advantage of their New Year's promotion now. Buy a 10-month wellness plan and get 2 months free and use your HSA or FSA dollars to do it. Visit them at any of their 4 Madison locations.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Freezing rain possible at times tonight, otherwise overcast skies. Lows dip down to about 29. Southwest winds around 5 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected again tomorrow. Highs level off around 42. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow night. Mixed precipitation possible at times. Lows around 30. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 32 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates. So relevant, they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
Welcome back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Join us on the lines at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, a couple of intriguing headlines I see at the Post. You know, Joe Biden's on the southern border. As I hear tell on Foxy News, it's the first time he's ever been to Mexico or the southern border, and he just doesn't care, and it's open borders from here to Mexico, apparently. I don't believe it just because I hear it on Fox News. I've never heard it expressed by the current president, Joe Biden, that he wanted open borders or anything of the sort. But anyways, now that he's down visiting, he's getting handed hate mail by Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, Republican, trying to make a spectacle because that's what Republicans do. That's in lieu of governance these days. They're just trying to go viral.
Right. No doubt. It's a professional trolling. There's not governance. This is all about owning the libs and, getting clicks on TikTok.
Well, that brings me to another intriguing headline, top of the Washington Post digital section. House Republicans form committee to investigate the government. Well, it's about time somebody started investigating the government, and that's the party to do it, the party that doesn't believe in governance. A little bit from Jacqueline Almeni and Devlin Barrett at the Washington Post. Democrats described the panel as an unprecedented breach of protocol. We'll see what you think, fair audience. 844-967-2789. You can join us, but I'm going to read a bit. The House on Tuesday approved a GOP resolution to create a select subcommittee that Republicans say will launch a far-reaching examination of the agencies and the people that investigated Donald Trump, and that Democrats describe as an unprecedented breach of protocol in the criminal probes and national security matters. Little difference of viewpoint here. Tomato. I read on. The subcommittee, approved on party line vote of 221 to 211, will be empowered to investigate any federal agency that collects information about Americans. Does that include the Census Bureau, even in cases of ongoing criminal investigation? What could possibly go wrong there, Dom? Congress is going to usurp the Department of Justice, stop the presses on the Trump prosecution. Special counsel? What would stop them? I read on. A carve-out at odds with the Justice Department's longstanding practice of not providing information about ongoing investigations. The subcommittee, which will be housed under the Judiciary Committee, led by the able chairman, Rep. Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, is expected to have resources akin to the House Select Committee that investigated the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. A concession extracted last week by GOP leaders, the hardliners, Dom, detractors of Rep. Kevin McCarthy, in exchange for votes necessary to make him their bitch. I'm sorry, that's not what it says here. To make him the new speaker. And the broad resolution also explicitly authorizes the Select Committee to seek access to highly classified information provided by intelligence agencies to the House Intelligence Committee. Members of that panel are often briefed on extremely sensitive information with contents that, if widely shared, could damage national security and endanger the lives of American intelligence officers and their assets. Well, let's give that over to Jim Jordan then. One quote, Dom, and then maybe you can do the heavy lifting. Its mandate is whatever Jim Jordan wants to do, said one congressional investigator who works on oversight issues and who, like the others in this report, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal discussions and plans. The mandate is whatever Jim Jordan wants to do.
Well, Jim Jordan has a history of doing nothing, right? Just look at what he didn't do when he was not addressing the sexual assaults going on at the university where he was at. So maybe it won't be so bad after all. I'll jump in here, Crude, again from the Washington Post. Republican.
Or the assaulters or the victims in this case.
The Republicans who have accused Attorney General Merrick Garland of abusing investigative powers to target conservatives have compared the new committee to the Senate Church Committee formed by Democrats in 1975 to investigate civil liberties abuses by intelligence agencies. Democrats have countered that the committee has been born out of the grudge match over the FBI's investigation of one person, Donald Trump. A quote from Jerry Nadler from New York, a rep. Jim Jordan and Kevin McCarthy's claim to be investigating the weaponization of the federal government when, in fact, this new select subcommittee is the weapon itself. It is specifically designed to inject extremist politics into our justice system and shield the MAGA movement from the legal consequences of their action. In order to become Speaker of the House, McCarthy sold out our democracy by handing power-hungry Jim Jordan subpoena power and a green light to settle political scores under the phony pretext of rooting out conservative bias. The Justice Department declined to comment on the proposal. Rep. Thomas Massey, Republican, told reporters Tuesday that he will be serving on the subcommittee, but it's unclear who else will be tapped by GOP leadership. Rep. Nancy Mace, another Republican, said after the vote to form the committee, Jim Jordan is the most powerful chairman in Congress with broad discretion on what he wants to investigate now. What I'm interested in seeing who will be sitting on this committee. Jordan gets to handpick. And while the resolution establishing these subcommittees is ambitious, alarmingly so, to Democrats who view the panel as a political attack machine disguised as an oversight body, how it will work in practice remains to be seen. The Justice Department has at times quarreled with congressional committees over what information should or should not be shared with Congress, including during the Trump administration when Jordan and others accused the Justice Department of unfairly targeting the president. Such fights can drag on for months and occasionally flare into uglier confrontations, such as when the GOP-controlled House in 2012 voted to hold Attorney General Eric Holder in contempt over Republicans' unsatisfied demands for Justice Department documents. While some of the panel's expected membership sets the stage for potential confrontations with the Biden administration, some Democrats and intelligence officials are already voicing concern about the chilling effect the Republican effort may have on ongoing investigations. And isn't that the point, Crudy?
Well, it is a point. Come back with us. We'll try to make a few points. You can be a caller, make a point or two at 844-96-PARTY. Always a party up in here.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
ABC News. I'm Mark Dennis. At least 16 people are dead following back-to-back storms in California this week. Tens of thousands are also without power across the state. ABC News meteorologist Melissa Griffin says more storms are on the way in the coming days.
Already so much rain across this area and an additional 10 to 15 inches possible in parts of Northern California, even down into LA through San Diego, locally 5 to 10 inches possible. No doubt we're going to see more in the way of flooding and mudslides.
10 other states are also under alerts for heavy rain and snow. President Biden is in Mexico wrapping up talks with leaders from Mexico and Canada. The Biden administration is working to carve out policies to deal with the influx of migrants at the southern border. Mega Millions has turned into Mega Billion. The jackpot now $1.1 billion for tonight's drawing. In Philadelphia, sounds of a lottery ticket machine printing out purchased tickets. There hasn't been a winning ticket drawn since mid-October. This is ABC News.
WTTN 1580 AM News Talk Radio, built for the 99%, is rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News and our new early morning program heard right here on weekday mornings, Up North News Radio. We're a small but scrappy state-based newsroom that covers politics and policy, but also other stories that show off our state, its people, places, food, and much more. You can find all of that on our website, upnorthnewswi.com, or on your favorite social media site. Just search for Up North News WI. Don't forget the WI and give us a follow. Then, from 6 to 8 a.m., we talk about those stories and much more right here on the statewide radio stations of Civic Media. We have guests, analysis, commentary. We talk music, sports, weather, and probably a few too many anecdotes about my time as a TV anchor, a state legislator, an island dweller, and now a grandpa. It's real information and good conversation that's unabashedly Wisconsin. That's Up North News Radio, weekday mornings from 6 to 8, on the radio, online, and on demand.
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media network of radio stations delivered it live.
I was so impressed with your coverage, and I listened to you guys, and I got all the coverage. It was amazing.
Civic Media, the only network with news reporters and show hosts stationed across Wisconsin, sharing political insight not found anywhere else. Elections or anytime, we are here for you. Your local Civic Media radio stations and streaming on the Civic Media app.
Hey, Darcy, I just saw the perfect house. Can you help me write an offer on it?
I'd be happy to, Brian. Did you see it at an open house?
No, I just called the sign and had the agent show it to me. I didn't want to bug you.
Brian, how many times have you heard me say don't call the sign?
All of them.
You called the agent working for the seller, and once you see the property with that agent, I'm no longer free to write an offer on it.
So...
You need to hire us from the beginning, help you find the right home, negotiate on your behalf, and protect your interests all the way through the process, and it shouldn't cost you a dime.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them at solidarityrealty.com.
You've got questions about navigating the healthcare system? Kristen Lyerly helps us find answers and discusses other issues at the intersection of healthcare and politics. Hometown Health, Thursday mornings at 7:30 on Up North News Radio.
I was just curious as to why you called it the Paul Revere Show.
The Paul Revere Show is named this way because the poem that we all know, the famous ride, the poem was written to rally the troops to fight slavery and fight for democracy. And so I named the show the Paul Revere Show because I thought it was the time to get on the air and talk about democracy.
The Paul Revere Show with Mark Thompson. Listen Mondays 7 to 8 p.m. always on the Civic Media app.
Occupy didn't start on Wall Street. It started on our street, the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday Happy Hour. Dom's looking for the Gideon's Bible in the stand there in the hotel room. I got a few show notes, Dom, if you'll allow me to indulge. First and foremost, and this one's really for one specific human being, our good friend, Dr. Harvey K. up in Green Bay. Every single day, Harvey asks me, when are the Devil's Advocates launching in Green Bay? You've promised me coverage in Brown County, Green Bay, the Fox Valley, and we're in Oshkosh. We're on 1100 AM and 98.3 FM in Oshkosh. Oshkosh Air Support. But I promised, Dom, we're coming to Green Bay. So, Harvey, I can just tell you, the countdown has begun. It's like less than a week now. So, Harvey, don't call me every day. You know,
oh, love, Harvey. Be patient.
Swear to God, we're coming to Green Bay, Harvey. So tell all your friends, Devils are coming. But beyond that, Badgers are tipping off against Michigan State right up the road from me here. I'm on University Ave in the Solidarity Realty Studios in Madison. And the Badgers are tipping off, I believe, at the Kohl Center. Michigan State, dude. I love the Big Ten. And you can listen right here on Civic Media, on the Civic Media app. Not on Devil Radio, but you can listen on WFHR, locally grown radio, Wisconsin Rapids. And you can listen on WRCE, news from the center in Richland Center and up in Lake Air Country, Amory, WXCE. We'll be playing out the Badger game. That tip-off will take you up to tip-off. I'll tell you what. Badgers, I think they're going to, I always like when they beat Tom Izzo. Just saying. And one other thing. You got to tune in tomorrow in the 4 o'clock hour, Tom. This big program, mostly me, and I'm letting the audience in on an early secret. There is going to be a 7-figure statewide giveaway for small business owners, sort of a Main Street thank you from Civic Media. And we're going to announce the details, at least I'm going to announce the details in the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow. So if you got any friends that are small business owners, or if you're interested in taking advantage, even here in Madison, there's going to be 7 figures. Count that, Dom. How many zeros is that?
That's a lot of zeros, Rudy.
Plus a 1. That's 7 figures. That's $1 million, Dom. So tune in tomorrow. Giving away $1 million soon. Anyways, back to the show. What do you want to talk about? And I've been watching CJ in the queue for some time now, and I've been wondering, do we get to the phones? Do we allow CJ to besmirch the airways again today?
Oh, yeah, man. We take all callers, even those from CJ. 844-967-2789. Welcome, CJ. Happy Tuesday. What do you got for us today?
Hey, CJ.
Hey there, guys. Well, I'm wondering if Civic Radio is going to cover the truth detector, Jim Jordan's committee meetings. And I bet you Pencil Neck Schiff won't be on any of those because he lied about us for $25 million in 2.5 years.
Wait.
But,
You're losing me already. Tell me what Schiff did. What did Schiff lie about, and where'd the $25 million figure come from?
$25 million for the Russian collusion, but you know what? You haven't stated about the secret documents found in the Biden office.
I actually broke it in real time. When I saw the news breaking on CNN, we told the audience yesterday.
Yeah, but you don't cover it the way you did the.
I always called what happened in Mar-a-Lago, dude. You've been listening, CJ. What I call it. Paperwork crimes, dude. I want to talk about the insurrection, the coup against the U.S. government, what the findings of the J6 and the criminal referrals thereof show me about the former president. The paperwork crimes, as I've described them, I could give a damn, a tinker's damn.
Wasn't convicted, was he? So
not yet.
That you guys still want to talk about him and Scott Walker, but you don't cover this president.
I covered it yesterday. You're a day late and $1 short, CJ. Where were you yesterday?
CJ, let me ask you a question. Number one, Jim Jordan is a horrible human being. Number one, let's just put that out there, and you can like it or not like it, and we'll see how the Republicans are going to govern in the House. We've already seen 15 votes for McCarthy, giving away the store to selling his soul to try to become speaker. Then he'll be under the thumb of all the righties. But CJ, Donald Trump is still being investigated, right? For many things. Now, let me ask you a couple of very specific issues, and I'm gonna get your opinion because you seem to think that Russia collusion, that there was nothing there, but of course there was something there, right? We talked about this, CJ. I mean, Paul Manafort was Donald Trump's campaign manager. He gave poll data to his buddy Konstantin Kilimnik, who's a Russian agent. That has been factually reported. And what are your thoughts on that, CJ?
Fact is that Hillary Clinton campaigned.
CJ, you're missing. See, there you go.
Moving on.
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary's emails.
It's the whole thing. I appreciate wanting to, if anything else, shine the light on corruption. Okay, I'm fine with that. We were talking a little bit earlier about, the kids of powerful people, be it the Biden kids or the Trump kids or hell, the royal family who I could give a damn about, but damn, you can't turn a radio or a television station without seeing something about the British royal family. Gag me. But anyway, keeping a light on corruption is a bipartisan thing. I don't like corrupt people. I don't care what their political affiliations are. If someone is taking advantage of the system, someone's breaking the law, if someone is acting in unethical manners, that we should all fight against that, because that's serving themselves and not serving the constituents. But CJ, you can't even take a look at any of these one of several investigations going on and be honest about it and assess, yeah, man, Donald Trump looked really bad in that. When Donald Trump's on tape asking for 11,780 votes, when Donald Trump on that phone call says, well, you guys might be in some legal problems if you don't do what I say. When Donald Trump says multiple times, hey, give me a break, guys, I just need 11,000 votes, doing his best Rodney Dangerfield. I mean, that's extremely corrupt, man. Under what if that was Hillary Clinton, as you mentioned before we cut your ass off, if that was Hillary Clinton asking for 11,780 votes, you know what I'd be doing, CJ? I'd be saying the same thing. That's corrupt and that should be prosecuted. I don't know what it is about republicanism or MAGA nowadays that you can't stand up and be objective looking at your own cult leader. The guy fomented a rebellion, a coup, an insurrection in this country. He did it with a conspiracy of Republicans to do so, and then he lied and he tried to steal the election in Georgia, amongst many other things. So yeah, we're not living in the past because these investigations are currently ongoing and waiting with bated breath for Jack Smith to lay down the lumber.
The problem, Dom, and I'll defend CJ only in this regard. Bill Barr misconstrued the contents of the Mueller report. Donald Trump certainly has misconstrued the contents of the Mueller report. He was never exonerated, right? Mueller said specifically, if I could have exonerated the former president, I would have. But what he did say is there were so many acts of obstruction of justice that potentially should have been prosecuted that they really never got to the bottom of, quote unquote, the Russian collusion issue. But subsequently, we do have credible reporting that Kilimnik shared polling information with Russian spies. That's collusion on the highest level. That's Paul Manafort. That's the campaign manager sharing with the KGB the inside polling from Donald Trump. And let's not forget, he was working for free. Manafort worked campaign manager for Donald Trump, the supposed billionaire. And the price was right. Trump's favorite price. He was going to stiff him anyways. But he worked for free because he was making it out the back door, CJ. But I don't even care about that at this late hour. I agree with you, Dom. The insurrection against the United States government is the crime that I want history to remember Donald Trump for. And be it Hillary in her emails, Joe Biden and these accusations that he had 10 classified documents, or the fact that Donald Trump, even after 2 and 3S from the archives, was holding on to 325 classified documents. I don't give a damn about any of them, CJ. Only one was an insurrectionist, and that was your guy. 844-967-2789. Dana from La Crosse. He's on my team. He's a good guy, and he's from our old stomping grounds.
Hey, Dana, what's happening?
Hey, guys, how are you tonight?
Good, man. You got the coolest Devil's Advocates bumper sticker I've ever seen anyone individually make and put on the back of their car.
I sure do. I definitely do. Hey, I got something for CJ, but first, Dom, I was trying to catch you last week. I did have something I wanted to say to you last week. It might be a little late now, but go Lions.
Thanks, man. We'll take it. Take it.
Your line's breaking up, Dana. Gotta go. No, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, CJ, all you got is words. You come on and you say these words like Adam Schiff, $25 million. You are asked to explain it, given as much time as you need to explain it, and you come back with, well, yeah, he made $25 or $25 million. That's not an answer. So you got nothing, CJ, and that's all you guys ever have. However, Georgia has the goods. Jack Smith has the goods. This is all documented proof, and you are going to see the light soon. Speaking of seeing, I got a question for you, CJ. How many times do you think the Republicans are going to show you Hunter's penis in Congress?
Oh, it's going to happen. Like it or not, there's going to be a lot of Hunter's junk presented. Congressional subcommittees. I mean, who better than Jim Jordan to head up that committee?
Doesn't seem appropriate, right?
You know, I wonder how much Republicans spent on Benghazi. How many hearings did they have on Benghazi, right?
Yeah.
All about crucifying, damaging Hillary Clinton. And of course, the next round of investigations above and beyond undermining the investigations, the Department of Justice, the executive branch investigations of the former president for insurrection. And I got to say, you notice what they do in Brazil? It's been 18 months plus here, 2 years. Hell, we just turned January 6th, right? 2 years since the insurrection, no charges against the head of the coup. And I mean Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, and the others, Eastman, Clark. They were all at the top of this coup, and they should all be charged. But they charged the mountain in Brazil, Bolsonaro's people, very Trump-like January 6th, except it happened on the 8th, 2 years later.
Yeah, Bolsonaro's sitting in Florida with Trump.
And Steve Bannon's advising Bolsonaro, and Stephen Miller is advising Bolsonaro. Except the people at the Capitol, they arrested 400 or 500 of them in real time.
That day.
They went after two of the chief security people in the Brazilian government. Day one, the Brazilian Supreme Court got involved. Well, that's how I wish the Department of Justice was acting, because then we wouldn't have jacknuts like CJ calling us, well, nothing ever came of the obstruction and the collusion. And the paperwork crimes, as I've often described them, the classified documents Trump was holing up with in Mar-a-Lago. You're right, CJ. Others have been accused of similar crimes, although I think Trump's were probably worse. But again, your guy's the only insurrectionist. Your guy's the only one that didn't accept the outcome of the election and incited a violent mob and planned. And ends justify the means. They planned, didn't matter what the outcome of the election was. Trump knew he's down in the polls. He always planned to stick it to democracy. And if his vice president had to get hung, well, collateral damage. So there's a little difference there. And, the party of Kevin McCarthy and this fiasco, when you call me up and say Hillary's emails, I mean, that is thin gruel. Come back. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls. Last segment for the day. Tip off for the Badgers at 6. Listen on the stream, Civic Media, locally grown radio, WRCE or WXCE in Amory.
CJ, the sauce is weak.
Phones, social media, you've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
I've been invited on Fox News. I accepted. We're going to take your favorite ideas for burning it down. Alan from Madison, what do you got for us?
At the end of the show, you should tell them you've got a new logo for Fox News. What you do is stand up, drop your drawers, turn around, and Fox is on one cheek, news is on the other. Below it, you have We Fill the Void.
I don't know if I got that kind of courage, Alan, but I love how you think, man.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA, is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families, and one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Weather brought to you by the Joint Chiropractic. Through January 14th, you can buy a 10-month wellness plan and get 2 free months. Visit us today at our 4 Madison area locations. No appointment needed. Open evenings and weekends. The Joint Chiropractic.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Freezing rain possible at times tonight, otherwise cloudy skies. Lows dip down to about 29. Winds out of the southwest around 5 miles an hour. Daytime highs approaching 42. Tomorrow, cloudy skies expected. Cloudy skies expected again tomorrow night. Chance for mixed precipitation. Lows dip down to about 30. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 32 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Hey, come back.
Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It is the last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now at 844-967-2789.
This new Inquisition subpanel the Republicans have formed today, headed by the unbridled Jim Jordan, right? He's going to be unconstrained in this thing. What does he want to investigate? Any damn thing he thinks. So anyways, he told reporters today, and Democratic aides on this Judiciary Committee told NBC News on Monday that this committee is Benghazi on steroids. It's crazy. But here's how Jim Jordan, describes the priorities of this new subcommittee. It's pretty basic, Jordan told reporters about the Justice Department. It's a violation of the First Amendment, and the First Amendment is pretty important. That's why it's the first one.
Oh, way to dig deep, Jim.
The allegations he's referencing are about the concerns, the unfounded concerns primarily, that the Justice Department was investigating citizens who protested at school board meetings. The Justice Department says that it only investigated people who made direct threats to local officials. That was happening there for a while. Remember, Jim?
Yes, I do recall. And they should be investigated if you are of the mindset to threaten the lives of your local school boards for whatever damn reason you read about on InfoWars or heard on Fox News. You should be investigated for that.
Well, here's number 2, Dom. Jordan is also seeking to investigate information from the so-called Twitter files, claiming the U.S. government conspired with social media companies to suppress conservatives. They're always the victims, aren't they, in their telling? I mean, in life, I really wouldn't be able to go through life victimized like these Republicans. They get sand kicked in their face constantly, and they're telling. Anyways, when asked what the third problem is, step number 1, steal underwear. Step 3, make profit. When asked what step number 2 is, Jim Jordan seemed to forget. Technically, it was step number 3 in his case. And then, what did we learn last week? The White House was actually, trying to, I forget what it was. That was his press conference. He forgets what, oops. Sort of a Rick Perry moment.
Yeah, right. He's going to get rid of the Department of Energy.
Now, Dominic, here is the rest of his quote. The esteemed subcommittee chairman, the inquisitor-in-chief, the newest Joe McCarthy of the Republicans, Jim Jordan says the White House last year was trying to direct the tax policy from the highest levels of our government. Does that mean, he was like hiring IRS agents? The highest levels of government are the White House, Jordan evaded. So we think that's an important one. And those are his 3.
Wow. It's going to be interesting to see how this Republican House, governs. We've seen their priorities already, right? Get rid of the IRS. That's a priority for them. And try to get involved in stopping or somehow casting shade on justified investigations of insurrectionist bastards like Jim Jordan. I mean, Jim Jordan, you're one of the guys, man, and now he's going to lead this committee. I mean, it is just a ruckus over there at the House right now, and I have zero confidence that they're going to get anything done.
Well, Scott Perry, my understanding, Scott Perry, who had his cell phones and digital communication seized by the Department of Justice, apparently under investigation for some criminal involvement with the January 6th. Well, Perry is also very interested in investigating, the FBI, the ones that would take his cell phone away just because he's...
If you have a problem with the FBI investigating you, then maybe you shouldn't take part in a conspiracy to overthrow the government of the United States. I mean, call me crazy, but what do you guys always say? You Republicans don't break the law, right? You're the law and order. How many times have I heard that from this GOP? Oh, we're the law and order. Oh, really? You're the law and order political party right now?
When you break the law, if you're Scott Walker, the former governor of the state of Wisconsin, you get rid of the John Doe, you change campaign finance laws, you investigate the investigators. I mean, there are a number of steps. These playbooks have been written prior, Dom. They're just following old rules here. While there's still time, let's get a few callers in here at 844-967-2789. The real Jake, the actual Jake from Eureka. Welcome, Jake. What do you got for us?
Hey, Jake.
Hey, if those Republican politicians don't want to be investigated by the FBI, they might want to stop being such a bunch of Russia-loving Putin puppets who are committing crimes on a daily basis that everybody can see clearly. Everybody knows Trump is a criminal. Everybody knows Jim Jordan is a criminal. Real question is, why isn't Jim Jordan in prison? I mean, he's going to lead this investigation. Best of luck, Republicans, because, when it comes to going after Hunter Biden's laptop, we all happen to recall the fact that Donald Trump has a son by the name of Donald Trump Jr., who is a giant cokehead, not to mention his mistress, Kimberly Guilfoyle.
No, they're married now.
Republican convention, I guess that makes it all good that they're coked out of their minds. Hey, at least they're married.
Well, that's a legend. You don't know for sure, Jake, that they're coked out of their minds just because when they speak publicly, they say things like, the best is yet to come.
Don't let the wide eyes fool you, Jake. Thanks for the call, man. 844-967. Let's not forget, Jake, Kushner, man. I mean, this kid got $2 billion from the Saudis to do an investment fund? Something that dude's never, ever, ever done, let alone the financing of 666. So, I mean, if they're going to get into the whole family dynamic, they don't have to look far. They don't even need to look over to the other side of the aisle. They got plenty of that in their own backyard.
There's a lot of Nepo babies going on.
Yeah.
Or 967-2789. Tom from Cedarburg. Welcome back, Tom. What do you got for us?
Hey, Tom.
Hi, guys. Hey, I'm wondering, when are you going to start interviewing Janet Protasiewicz?
Well,
question.
As soon as they make her available to us, Tom, there was a candidate forum yesterday. And, I've got decent relations with the campaign. I reached out last week. They know we're here, man. Super coolest, best radio show ever. I think they should be clamoring to get her on the show. What do you think, Tom?
You guys make a difference. I've seen it before over the years. You really do.
Well, we've had Everett Mitchell a couple of times. We are working to try and put together a candidate forum before the primary election as a civic media product. Our news director is working on that. I'm just observing over his shoulder. But we'll have Protasiewicz on. Protasiewicz. I was kind of sliding it off at the end there. It's which. Protasiewicz. Janet Protasiewicz. Everett Mitchell.
Say it with confidence.
Kelly. Want to thank our fine guest from early in the program, Dom. She's running for Wisconsin's 8th Senate District. She was Democrat Jodi Habush. Sinykin, Jodi, G-O-D, J-O-D-I, Jodi for Senate. Stick around. Badgers across the network and some other fine programs like Busted Pencils.
You ever hang around Gymnasium Jim?
The best is yet to come.
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media Network